All right, so I just got back from watching Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the fourth in this, I don't know if it's a reboot or a reimagining or whatever it is, or just a bunch of prequels, but of the recent Planet of the Apes series that started in 2011 with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and now here we are over 10 years later with the fourth movie, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So I have to say, out of the Planet of the Apes movies, I've seen the original, the one that came out in the 60s, and it's definitely a time capsule, but I enjoyed it as a product of its time. And then I haven't seen any of the others except for the new ones, starting with Rise, the ones with Andy Serkis in them as Caesar. And I think those movies are extremely underrated. Everybody who sees them that I know of really likes them, but nobody talks about them that much. And I think they're all really good movies. They're not straight up action adventure movies. There is definitely action and adventure in them, but they're very contemplative movies. Movies that you don't think would be as contemplative as they are. So I was curious to see if this movie, this new one, would kind of fall on that same vein or kind of veer more towards more crowd-pleasing action adventure stuff. And I will say it does veer more towards action adventure stuff. It is not as contemplative about, the state of humanity and, the more ethics of, right and wrong type of stuff that we get in the first three. But I will say that I was pleasantly surprised by how much of an enjoyment I got out of it despite that. And it does dabble in some moral complexities and some gray areas that I didn't think it would go. So all in all, I would say this is definitely a pleasant surprise for me. I was kind of nervous about this one because a lot of times if a franchise just keeps going and going, eventually it will get bad. That's just the way things work. But thankfully, for at least for these new Planet of the Apes movies, that hasn't happened yet. This one's really good, and I think it's a worthy addition to the series. It feels a lot like a legacy sequel, and in a good way. Like it expands on the universe, it introduces new characters, all paying respects to the movies that came before it. If you're a fan and you've done rewatches or you just like the first three movies, you are rewarded for liking those movies here. But you don't have to know a whole lot about those movies to enjoy it here. To enjoy this movie. This is a good stepping on point to the series. And I can appreciate the movie for that. It's also, it felt like a good old-fashioned action-adventure movie. I'm a big fan of the 2005 King Kong movie directed by Peter Jackson, just because there's so much adventure in that movie. It's like a journey, and there's lots of different set pieces, and the characters have fun interactions. And we get that here. I got really attached to a couple of these characters, and I enjoyed seeing them in all these different scenarios. And there's a lot of set pieces in this movie. This is definitely a movie to see in the theaters, because we go from the jungle to the beach to the cliffs to, I don't want to spoil it, but other locations that I didn't expect to see in this movie. And it was all really well done. The character work is great. The orangutan that you see in the trailers, I think his name is Raka or something like that. He is fantastic. He's a great character, great introduction to this world. He gives a lot of exposition, but in a fun way, in an interesting way. And I will say the movie kind of springs to life once he shows up. Not to say that the other characters are bad, but he is definitely a spark in this movie. So, yeah, not much else to say without going into spoiler territory. The villain is good. Oh, the special effects. Special effects are fantastic here. You can definitely see the how the VFX have evolved since the first one, and now it's very seamless. The light and the weather and how it affects on these apes' fur and how it interacts with the environment is all supremely well done. So props to the visual effects artists. This movie would not exist without them. They did a great job. So yeah, I don't want to overhype it too much. It's not the greatest movie ever made or anything like that, but I do think besides Dune Part 2, this is probably my favorite movie of the year. There's been other good ones, but I haven't enjoyed a movie as much as this since probably Dune. So high praise from my end anyways. It's in theaters right now, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. If that interests you, you can go ahead and check it out.